All right, kids, you are dismissed. They are learning about the Pool of Bethesda this morning. Yeah. If you have your Bibles, please turn to Song of Solomon, chapter 7. Today is our last day in our survey of Song of Solomon. He's going to preach. I'm going to let him preach. He'll do a much better job, and we'll get out of here quicker. Yeah. It's hard to believe. Today is the last day of our study in Song of Solomon. And then over the next 3 weeks, we're going to be looking at, I'm going to be titling it, The Cross to the Empty Tomb. And we're going to be focusing our attention, getting ready for Easter in this time of year. And 2 weeks from today, it's hard to believe Easter is 3 weeks from today, so make sure you pick up some of these on your way out, right, and hand them out. Most people will come to church if they're invited, or most people that do come to church, it's because they're invited. So pick some up, invite them out, and it will be a good day. I promise you. It's always a good day whether they come or not, but I would love to see some visitors. I'm glad you're here, though. All right, Song of Solomon. We've been going through this for several weeks, and many of you may remember we've been rediscovering God's plan for love and romance, and it only stands to reason if God's the one who created the relationship of the marriage relationship, then He would probably know a little thing or two about it and how to make it function properly, right? And romance and all that fun stuff. Many of you might remember in 1975, because you're old, you like 1975, there was a song that was sung by Natalie Cole that has become a staple at most weddings. If you've watched any romance movies, you've been to a wedding at some point, and it's usually when people walk out at a wedding that this is played. Maybe you've heard of it. It goes a little something like this. This will be an everlasting love. You remember that? And I say that, and some of you already have the beat in your head going, this will be. You like that? That's why I don't sing, and Josh does a much better job. Okay, this will be an everlasting love, and many of you understand that song, and we've heard it at weddings, we hear it at the end of every romance movie that's kind of lighthearted. But the greatest gift that you and testimony that you can give other than the Lord Jesus and salvation to your kids, to your grandchildren, to a church, and to a community is an everlasting satisfied marriage, an everlasting love type of marriage. Sometimes we don't think about this, but in a world where most marriages end in divorce, most relationships end in heartbreak, your marriage and the way you love each other will reveal a lot. And it doesn't, we often think it just impacts us as a married couple. It's just like in my case, Sarah and I. And if something were to ever go wrong between Sarah and I, we're the only ones that are affected by it. And that's not true. If something were ever affected in our marriage, it would not just affect Sarah and I, it would affect our kids, obviously, and down through their kids, most likely. And not only that, it would affect this church. It would affect the community at large, because they say, hey, did you hear about that pastor? You see, our marriage and our relationship doesn't just affect us. And that's why I think it's always cool when you, in a congregation where you have a couple that's just celebrated 50 years of marriage. And so that's something. And some of you, it's maybe 30 years, or I know my parents this year, it'll be 50 years. And Sarah and I, it'll be 21 years. So there's something to be said about that. And a lot of times people will sit there and say, well, how do you stay married to the same person for so long? I mean, we live in a TikTok generation where everything is in like 30-second reels. Like, surely that gets old and stale quick. And so what we want to do is we want to look at the everlasting love this morning between Solomon and his bride, and look at some things, because we've been saying this from the beginning. There has to be a better way. Whatever the world is doing and whatever our society is doing, it ain't working. And so that's why we want to get back to God's plan and seeing how it unfolds. Okay, and so let's begin in verse 1. I want us to see something. I'm going to read through verse 9 to begin with, and we're just going to work through 2 chapters real quick on everlasting love. The Bible begins in verse 7 with, "How beautiful are your feet in sandals." What a way to start off your attraction, right? "How beautiful are your feet in sandals, O prince's daughters. The curves of your thighs are like jewels. The work of your hands." I know, I hear teenagers giggling. No, I'm kidding. So, "the work of the hands of a skillful workman. Your navel is a rounded goblet. It lacks no blended beverage. Your waist is a heap of wheat set about with lilies. Your 2 breasts are like 2 fawns, your twins of a gazelle. Your neck is like ivory tower. Your eyes like the pools of Heshbon by the gate of Bath Rabbim. Your nose is like the tower of Lebanon." This is exciting, isn't it? "Which looks toward Damascus. Your head crowns you like Mount Carmel, and your hair, the hair of your head, is like purple. A king is held captive by your tresses. How fair and how pleasant you are, O love, with your delights. This stature of yours is like a palm tree, and your breasts like its clusters. I said, I will go to the palm tree. I will take hold of its branches. Let now your breasts be like clusters of the vine, the fragrance of your breath like apples, and the roof of your mouth like the best wine." What a racy way to begin a Sunday morning, right? What you're seeing is a relationship that has unfolded through a book here. It began with a character-based attraction that led to an intended type of dating circumstance. They kept themselves. There were so many times that her engine was revving and saying, okay, we can go to the next level physically, and he's a man of character who sits there and says, no, it's not the right time. And then we got to the wedding night, and then it was the right time, and they consummated the marriage. And they realize with love, you don't have to force it. And that's a hard thing for a lot of young people, because they think, oh, I got to press and find somebody. There's got to be somebody out there, and we're pressing. Listen, I've seen some people that get married, and I'm like, yeah, there's somebody for everybody. Okay? There's some people you're just going, I don't know how they found a spouse. And so and you're looking at them going, if they can find a spouse, surely you will. I promise you. You just got to wait for the right one, right? But you don't have to force love. You wait till your wedding night for the sexual relationship. And then last week we looked at learning to resolve conflict with humility, and we've watched that unpack. And now we're at a point where we're looking at, how do you have an everlasting love? How do you have a love that keeps things going for the long haul? Well, the first thing that we see in this racy beginning is this: lasting love looks for the beauty in your spouse. It looks for the beauty in your spouse. The visual idea here is of a man who is standing back and just looking at his wife and thinking, man, I hit the lottery with her. Can I ask you something? When's the last time, men, you just stood back and looked at your wife and said, man, I way outkicked my coverage on this one? Wives, when's the last time you looked at your husband and just said, man, he is such a good man? I know he gets all crusty and stuff once in a while, but he's a good guy. The idea here is he is looking for the beauty in his wife. Now, some people say she is dancing for him. And we don't know that for sure, but some, given the idea of where he starts with his admiration for her from the feet up, some say, well, she's dancing. We don't know that per se. But notice where he does begin his gaze with her. It's not like he does like we do in the early part of the relationship. Let's just be honest. In the early part of the relationship, you're looking at the face. You want to make sure they look good, right? You start from the top and work your way down, okay? I remember, and I'm ashamed to say this, I remember being in locker rooms and hearing guys talk about girls being butterfaces. I was an innocent dude. Honestly, I was. Grew up in a Christian home, like I did. And finally I asked the question, what's a butterface? To which they all started laughing. And they said, everything's nice but her face. Okay? I was like, oh, okay. You see, early on, we start from here and work our way down here. But as you grow older, you learn to admire the person as a whole. He starts with her feet. Feet are nasty for some of you. Isn't it? Like, my wife is the ultimate non-foot person. That's why when I want to annoy her, I touch her with my feet. And the kids laugh because all of a sudden they'll hear, Nathan! And they know I'm annoying her by touching her with my feet. Sarah hates feet. They're disgusting to her. But here's the thing. Early on, even early on in the dating relationship, marriage relationship, if your wife were to throw up her dogs onto your lap and say, will you rub my feet? You're probably like, no, I won't. That's disgusting. Feet have always had that symbol of nasty. That's why the disciples at the Last Supper are taken back that the King of the universe is washing feet. Feet are nasty. And some people, I mean, you look at their toenails, they got them Frito chips, and I heard you can cure that though with vapes, NyQuil Vapo, whatever that rub stuff is. I don't know if that's all true. But feet can be nasty. But he begins with his admiration for her, and he starts at the feet and works himself up to the top of her head. And he uses his words to affirm her. I want you to think about that for a moment. He's going to speak affirmation into her life. Let's just be honest this morning. With age, bodies change. Okay? There was one time I had a six-pack. Then it turned into a muffin top. And now I'm working on a baker's dozen. Right? Like, our bodies change. That's kind of the idea here when he's saying her navel is like a goblet. She's maybe put on some weight. It happens. With age, the body changes. And men, can I say this to you? Just like her words can make you a king or a jester, your words to her can deeply impact her. Speak life into her. You know what? Women, I'm learning this. Women with age, they become insecure in their body. It's not just a teenage girl thing. As women get older, like, am I still pretty enough for him? Am I still attractive enough? And our job as men is to speak life into her. And to say, I'm completely satisfied in you. You have everything that I need. I am so grateful for you, and I just love growing old with you. You see, your words and my words as men to our wives can either draw our wives closer or they can drive a wedge. And the same holds true with men. Ladies, like, saying things to your husband. Use your words for affirmation, not tearing down. You know what happens, and I don't want to get ahead of myself in some of the things I was going to share, but you know when affairs happen a lot of times? It's not because people get caught up in a momentary act of lust all the time. Most of the time it begins when there was distance that happened. Not enough affirmation. Not enough security. And what happens is this: after years and years of neglect and no verbal affirmation, what happens is someone else comes along and starts speaking, and it gets their attention. Husbands, wives, you want a lasting love, speak affirmation into each other and enjoy it. Men, I know you're like, oh, I don't like talking. That's all that mushy stuff. It's okay. You married her. Tell her how beautiful she is. Love on her. Be specific. I mean, you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. You two are married. She's your bride. Talk about how beautiful she is to her face and create that security in her. You know what this is? This is a man who is completely satisfied in his spouse. Can I say this? In this moment, Solomon is sitting there. He's satisfied. Now, here's the thing. My kids are like, well, then how did he wind up with so many wives and concubines? We were talking about that this week. If he was so satisfied, first of all, he keeps running back to her. But you also have to understand, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, some of this was political in that day and age. I married this person, and now I have peace with this country. Okay? So it's not all just because he was just marrying just because all these women meant something to him. Now, later on, the problem is, from a political standpoint, they turn his heart away from God. But this gal has his attention, and he loves her. And my question to you this morning is this: are you satisfied with your spouse? Are you satisfied with your spouse? Now, why or why not? Some of you would say, oh, no, I'm not satisfied with my wife. Why? You were once satisfied with her. What happened? Ladies, you wouldn't have married him if you weren't satisfied with him at some point. So what happened? See, the point I'm trying to make is this: find your satisfaction in each other. And here's the thing. He enjoys her companionship, and he enjoys the sexual relationship with which she has with her. Now, I'm going to say this, and I'm not trying to be crude. I'm not trying to be crass when I say this. Okay? But young people, the sexual relationship in your marriage is different from your 20s to your 40s. Okay? I know this is a shock. Even as a guy, and a lot of young men don't realize this. When you're in your 20s, it's about conquest. When it's in your 40s, all of a sudden you've developed this relationship with the person, and it's oneness. And it's being close to that person in oneness. And it blows a lot of young men's mind when you talk about it like that. And they're like, no way. Yeah, way. It's about finding satisfaction within your spouse. And the takeaway is this, very simply: lasting love keeps admiring one another. Keep admiring one another. And verbalize it. Oh, she knows. She knows. She may know it in her heart, but she needs to hear it with her ears. Okay? She needs to hear it with her ears. Number 2, lasting love finds mutual completion. Verse 10 says what? In verse 10, she says, I am my beloved's, and his desire is toward me. Okay, she said, once again, we're seeing have you noticed this theme where she keeps saying, I am my beloved? I am my beloved's. She says it in chapter 2, verse 16. She says it in chapter 6, verse 3. And now in chapter 7, verse 10. She keeps coming back to, I am my beloved's. She has found her completion. Marriage works. Everlasting love works when we learn the art of mutual completion. I look to my spouse and my spouse alone for my satisfaction. What happens in mutual completion is this, that I have learned the art of selflessly giving of myself to the person that I'm married to. And once again, I go back to the illustration of Paul and the words of Paul. My wife's body is now mine, and my body is now hers. We belong to each other. He would talk about submission. What is submission? In our modern culture, the feminist movement has hacked that and said, submission, that means like he's some barbaric Fred Flintstone caveman. No, it's mutual submission. It's a mutual submission where we're submitting to one another under the headship of Christ. We learn to submit to each other. It's not all about us. You know what's wild? Over the years, you take a look back, and I spent moments this week as I was saying, my admiration for my wife. You know what you learn through the years is where I am weak, she's strong. And where she's weak, I'm strong. And we complement each other. Let me explain this to you. When I thought I knew strength. I've been to the gym. I've worked out a time or two. I played football. I've tackled dudes that are way bigger than me, and I've been tackled by dudes way bigger than me. I've watched UFC. And I'm telling you, I thought I knew what tough was, and I'm going to tell you right now, none of them are as tough as my wife. First of all, she's had to put up with me. That's a task. My wife is incredible. Sarah, she blows my mind. I have physically watched her give birth to 4 incredible kids that I am super proud of. One of them came so quickly, they didn't even put anesthesia in her. She went a la naturelle. That's tough. And never once complained about it. That's the thing about women. They give birth and they don't complain about it. It's like, and then they want another one. It's like, I thought that thing hurt. Yeah, but you forget it. And you have another one. I thought I knew what strength was, but I watched her give birth to 4 incredible kids. Emotionally, her strength has been incredible. She has supported me in ministry when a lot of women would have said, you know what, maybe you need to find something else to do. There have been times where I've thought about, you know what, it'd be better, I just might as well get another job and not deal with any of the headache and deal with any of the stuff. And she's been right there. And most women, there's a lot of women out there that said, I wish you would. A lot of ministry women. I wish you would. Not Sarah. No, God's got this. You keep going. It's not up to you. It's up to Him. And she's been an encouragement. Where some women would give ultimatums to their husbands, when it comes to the ministry, she never has. When I've been at my lowest in one of the greatest tragedies in all my life, about 12 years ago, she was the first person to embrace me when I walked through the door as I cried on her shoulder. And she carried me for several months while I was sitting in a fog trying to make sense of things. And all I can tell you this morning is this. I only hope that I can be half the strength to her that she's been to me. She's incredible. She completes me. And I hope you look at your spouse the same way. They complete you. That's the intended purpose. So the lasting love requires an admiration for each other. It also requires that you find mutual completion in each other. But here's the next thing. Lasting love needs some spontaneity to keep things spicy. Now look at verse 11 through 8, chapter 8, verse 4. It says this. This is her speaking. Actually, I'll start back. She says in verse 10, I am my beloved, and his desire is toward me. Come, my beloved, let us go forth to the field. Let us lodge in the villages. Let us get up early to the vineyards. Let us see if the vine has budded, whether the grape blossoms are open, and the pomegranates are in bloom. There I will give you my love. The mandrakes give off fragrance, and at our gates are pleasant fruits, all manner, new and old, which have laid up for you, my beloved. Oh, that you were like my brother, who nursed at my mother's breast. If I should find you outside, I would kiss you. I would not be despised. I would lead you and bring you into the house of my mother. She used to instruct me. I would cause you to drink of the spice wine, of the juice of my pomegranate. His left hand under my head, and his right hand embraces me. What this is she's basically saying, let's get away, baby. Let's go off somewhere. And that getting off somewhere is going to lead to intimacy, is what's going on in this moment. She's saying, let's go do something crazy together. Let's go get away from the routine for a moment. May I say this? Spontaneity will spice up your relationship, and it breaks the monotony. Let's just be honest. We all have routines, don't we? We all do. Some of your routines is get up at 3:15 in the morning, do your devotions, drink a cup of coffee, go to the bathroom, yada, 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 yada. You got your routine. And throughout the day, you got your routine. Some of you even have, you married couples even have a routine for intimacy. Okay? Every once in a while, you got to break up the monotony and get a little spontaneous. Don't get locked into your schedule all the time. Every once in a while, you need to throw the routine out. Throw the normal out. And do something out of the ordinary together. I heard of a pastor. Now, I'm not saying I'm for or against this. I'm just saying I heard of a pastor. And no, it wasn't me. Okay? He was always in jest. He was always joking. Oh, man, it'd be so... it would do something if my wife got a nose ring. And all of a sudden, oh man, if she got a nose ring. And he would always joke about it, you know. Hey, babe, you should go get a nose ring. And so one day he came home and she had a nose ring, a hoop right there. And he's like, now that's what I'm talking about. You know, I don't, different strokes for different folks. Right? But it was something out of the ordinary that he was not expecting to be taken seriously. And she did. She had been listening, and she took it seriously, and she went out just to do something crazy for him. Men, maybe she sees you in your work clothes all the time. And it's not that she doesn't appreciate you. She loves you. Right? She sees you in the routine. This is how he dresses. But man, what would he look like if he just groomed himself up and wore a tuxedo or something? And I mean, maybe once in a while, she shows up at home or something, and you just went all out just to throw her off. And then said, let's go out to eat. Get dressed, let's go out to eat. Sometimes you just got to be spontaneous. Throw the routine out. Just do something different. It's not that she doesn't appreciate you, but man, a little spontaneity, doing something different might drive her wild. Every once in a while, just get away together, even if it's just overnight. Just say, hey, I booked a room. Let's go off to wherever for a night. Here's the thing. Every once in a while, what it does is it breaks the mundane. And see, it's weird because Sarah and I are now at that part of our relationship where our kids are growing up. Right? I got one daughter who will be 20 this year. That's crazy to me. Pray for her. She's got an interview Tuesday for something. So we're kind of excited about it. We'll see what the Lord has for her. I've got a son who will be 18 in July. That's insane to me. Another that'll be 15. And then another that'll be 13. This is crazy life. And so now we're in this part of our relationship where the kids are growing up, and Sarah and I have a little bit more. You know what? Hey, guys, we're going out to eat. I don't know what to tell you. You're old enough. You can survive. Even if you got to go Lord of the Flies and kill each other and eat off of each other, I don't care. So, cannibalism at its finest. Susie, Jack, you can drive. Go get some chicken nuggets. I don't know. Mom and I are going out to eat. Mom and I are going to go do this. Here's the thing. Drop what you're doing. Keep it spicy. And once again, verse 4 says what? She says, "Oh, I charge you, O daughters of Jerusalem, do not stir up or awaken love until it pleases." Once again, she's reminded, everlasting love does not need to be forced. It is something that blossoms. And the longer you're with the person, the more you sit back and admire the person, the more you're spontaneous with the person, and the more you find your completion in the person, you know what happens is this: love just naturally blossoms. It does. And I know that's hard for young people to believe, but it's true. Here's the fourth thing. Lasting love cultivates friendship. Look at verse 5 through 7 in chapter 8. Who is this coming from the wilderness, leaning on her beloved? People are noticing what's going on here. She's leaning on him. She's hand in hand with him. I awakened you under the apple tree. There your mother brought you forth. There she who brought you forth. So what we're seeing here is this, and it goes on in verse 6 and 7. Set me as a seal upon your heart, as a seal upon your arm, for love is as strong as death. Jealousy is cruel as the grave. Its flames are flames of fire, a most vehement flame. Many waters cannot quench love, nor can the floods drown it. If a man would give for love all the wealth of his house, it would be utterly despised. They have found friendship in each other. They're walking hand in hand, arm in arm, and people are noticing it. Man, these people, they're not just married, they're friends. I hope that every marriage in this room is developing friendship. Why do I say that? One day the kids are all going to be gone. They're going to move out. And you don't want to look across the room to a complete stranger and say, "Who are you? Who are you?" I know we've occupied the same house for however many years while the kids have grown up, but who are you? I don't even know you. Can I tell you something? The two marriage age brackets that see the highest divorce rates. The first 2 years of marriage and the empty nester. What happens is this: when the empty nest happens, they've built their lives around their kids so much, and their kids' schedules and all that stuff, and the kids have dictated the home so much that now when they're looking at each other, they're going, "Oh my word, I'm married to a complete stranger." Can I encourage you you want a lasting love? Start building a friendship with each other. Don't just be married and occupy a house. Build a friendship with each other. Guys, find out what your wife likes. I don't necessarily like it, but my wife likes to go to the antique mall in Wentzville. She likes that. So guess what? Every once in a while, not all the time, we got my limits here. We go to the antique mall, and we walk around, and she'll sit there for hours just walking around booth to booth. You know what? I just enjoy spending the time with her. There are other things. Build a friendship. Find out what her interests are, and do them. Ladies, find out what interests him, and do it with him. Now, there may be some things he's like, "I really don't want you doing it with me." That's fine too. Let him have his space in that. But can I just continually build the friendship so that when you walk in, you know what the greatest thing would be? What's cool is when people walk in who are married and you're like, "Man, they're not just married, they're friends." That's part of a lasting love. You're friends. See, part of that friendship involves your spouse gets the priority over the kids. Let me say that again. Your spouse gets the priority over the kids. I love my kids. Okay, I love them. But their mama is more of a priority to me. And that's not saying I don't, I don't sit there and push my kids and neglect my kids and off doing my. I'm just simply saying this. I've known Sarah a lot longer than I've known them. Right? And so guess what? Sarah gets the priority. She's my bride. They're my kids, but she's my bride. It does not mean I don't take care of my kids. It doesn't mean... But when Mama speaks, I listen. Okay? Here's the thing. What happens, men, is your bride is a gift from God. Okay? Your bride is a gift from God. And you promised God in your covenant to love her and cherish her till death do you part. And so you have to build that friendship with her, and you have to say to the kids, you know what, your schedule isn't as important as Mom and I hanging out together. That doesn't mean we do no, my kids will tell you the first. Do we do everything in the world? No, we don't do everything in the world. And besides that, my kids, they're expensive now. They're at that age of life, they're expensive. Like before, I could get them a couple coloring books and stuff, and they're happy, like $2 or Dollar General, dollar store coloring book. Man, they hit the lottery. Now it's like, Dad, do you have an Xbox? They're expensive now. But here's the thing. One day, my kids, as much as I love them, will be out of the house. And I hope that I have built a friendship with my wife through the years that pushes through, hey, you know what? Now we get to enjoy the best times of our life. We get to just walk around however we want to walk around the house. We get to do whatever we want, and we don't have any kids. You know, I heard someone say this, the worst thing for a marriage are kids. And they said, I was like, but then they explained it. Okay, have you ever noticed from the time you have kids, they're immediately trying to separate and get between you? They said, men, go up and start hugging your wife and see what happens if you got a little toddler. Immediately, that little toddler will start wedging its way in and try to separate you. And then at night, you'll go to bed, and they will plop down right in between you. And it doesn't change at 20 years old. I love them. But it's like, I just want to go to bed. But they do. Once again, I'm not saying that as a derogatory on kids. Please understand what I'm saying. I'm just saying kids have a way of working themselves in, and before you know it, you've wedged and you've gone and then all of a sudden I don't know you, and now we're at irreconcilable differences. Cultivate the friendship. Don't let the kids run the house. And then number 5, lasting love stays in its own vineyard. Lasting love stays in its own vineyard. Verse 10 through 14. I am a wall, and my breasts like towers. Then I became in his eyes as one who founded peace. Solomon had a vineyard at Baal Hamon. He leased the vineyard to the keepers. Everyone was to bring forth its fruit, 1,000 silver coins. My own vineyard is before me. You, O Solomon, may have 1,000. And those who tend its fruits, 200. You who dwell in the gardens and the companions, listen for your voice. Let me hear it. Make haste, my beloved, and be like a gazelle or a young stag on the mountains of spices. And she uses the illustration of vineyards, but I would practically just tell us this morning, stay in your own vineyard. Okay? I stated earlier, affairs don't just happen spontaneously most of the time. Affairs often begin when neglect is found. You see, I will say this, if you're not willing to tend your garden and your vineyard, there will be someone else who will. If you're not willing to tend and cultivate your spouse and speak to them and find completeness in them and affirmation, there's some joker out there that will, men. He will tell her she's beautiful. He will go to the nines with her and be spontaneous with her. Ladies, same holds true for you. If you're going to tear him down and tear him down and tear him down and tear him down to where you're it almost like you're demasculating him, guess what? He's going to find some old gal that will speak life into him, and she will get his attention. This is why it's a mutual thing. It's a working on both of our parts. I'm building Sarah up. She's building me up, and we're building each other up. And that's how lasting love happens. You see, there's oftentimes what happens in a relationship is this. Well, the grass is greener on the other side. Trust me, there's weeds over there too. And sometimes to get the grass greener on the other side, you got to deal with a whole lot more poop and fertilizer. And it ain't worth it. Just tend to your own garden. Make sure your garden is taken care of. I promise you, men, if your wife knows that she is everything to you, you're not going to have a problem with her cheating. Ladies, if your husband knows that he is everything to you and there's that mutual, you don't have to worry about him. Okay? I promise you. Tend to your own vineyard. And it'll be all good. So as I shut this down this morning, I just want to say this. From the onset, I said there's got to be something better. The world is making a mess of marriage, romance, and relationship, and there has to be something better. And I think God does give us a better plan for handling things. Where did it begin? First of all, can I say this? It began with character. Find people of character. Okay? Ladies, I'm telling you, there are guys out there, and just because they are good-looking young girls doesn't mean they're people of character. Okay? I can't tell you how many times I've heard that, oh, he's so good-looking, and then they get married, and then he's a chronic cheater. Because you weren't looking at the character. And same holds true for some men. I married this girl, she was a man-eating floozy. Find people of character. Put integrity to your dating relationship so you're not tempted. Save yourself for each other. Tend to your own garden. Handle conflict with humility. And then build an everlasting love. Build the friendship with each other. Build a spontaneous love and completeness with one another. Affirm one another. And build an everlasting love. Just the way God designed it. Because I promise you this. It will be the greatest gift that you can give your kids, your grandkids, your church, and your community. I say that, and I have a deep admiration for people who have been married a long time. Sarah and I were just talking about this not too long ago. We said, in today's world, we're kind of the oddity in a lot of ways. And what I mean by that is both of our parents, her parents have been married for 50 years. My parents are on the cusp of being married for 50 years. Sarah and I have been married for 21 years. All her siblings are all married, and they're all in loving marriages. My brother is in a loving marriage. And it's an oddity in today's world. Because most of the time, when I go into the public school, in any school, really, and I'm sure Josh and Karen can talk to this, and others dealing with kids, most kids are coming from broken homes. Some don't even know who their dad is. And it's sad. And that's not the way God intended it to be. We wonder, why is society such a mess? Because we strayed from God's word and his pathway to loving marriage relationships and the way he intended them to be. And now society is paying a price for it. So maybe we just need to rededicate our marriages to the Lord this morning and just say, Lord, thank you for my spouse. This afternoon, can I give you some homework this afternoon? Go home, write down everything that you admire about your spouse, or list your top 5 to 10 things and tell them what you admire about them. And even if it's physical things, you're like, I still think you're hot. Yeah, your navel's like a goblet, but I still like it. Right? Find something you admire and speak life into them and affirm them. With every head bowed and every eye closed, we're just going to draw this to a close and say this. Love on each other. Commit your ways to the Lord. Commit your marriage to the Lord and let Him have His way. Give your spouse the priority. It's not that your kids are bad kids. It's just make sure your spouse gets number one. All right? Father, we come before you this morning, and I pray that today has been an encouragement, that, Father, it's challenged us all to just take a step back as we close out this book. Help us to stand back and look at our spouse with admiration. It is often easy, and this is what Satan would love to do, is to get us focused on what annoys us the most about our spouse. And yet at one point we were attracted to them enough and had an admiration for them enough that we said yes to marriage. So I pray that this morning we would go back to that and find that in our hearts, in our lives, and in our marriages. Help us to recommit ourselves to you and our spouses this morning. For those that are single and still looking, and I pray that they would be patient. Just because they don't have someone right now doesn't mean that they won't. It just means that love has not been awakened yet. And you are protecting them. I pray that they would find people of character, people who love Jesus Christ, people who want to serve Jesus Christ, and that they would commit this to themselves, commit this way to you, and focus on their relationship with Jesus Christ until you bring that person along. We love you, we thank you, and need you. In Jesus' name, amen. I'm going to ask you to stand, and we're not going to take long this morning. Probably just a verse, maybe just for you to just thank the Lord for your spouse.